There's a pattern that runs through every great civilization in human history. And it's not military strength or trade routes or even agriculture. It's water. The Egyptians built along the Nile. The Mesopotamians planted themselves between the Tigris and the Euphrates. The Indus Valley, the Yellow River, every single one. Not near water, on water, completely dependent on it. When the water stopped, the civilization stopped. Every time. The Romans moved 1 billion liters of water a day through stone and gravity. Infrastructure so precisely engineered that parts of it still function today. Meanwhile, right now, 3 countries are locked in a standoff over who controls the Nile. The next global conflict might not be over oil. It might be over the thing you use without a second thought every single morning. I'm your host, and this is Object Origins, where we trace the hidden history of the things that built the world. Today, that thing is water. We're going through the full arc of humanity's relationship with water. From the first cities rising out of riverbeds, through the engineering that made empires possible, through the moment industrialization turned rivers into open sewers, all the way to the dam projects and diplomatic crises reshaping geopolitics right now. The history of water is, in a very real sense, the history of everything else. Picture the Fertile Crescent around 3,500 BCE. The land between the Tigris and Euphrates isn't remarkable because it's beautiful or defensible. It's remarkable because every year those rivers flood, recede, and leave behind some of the most nutrient-dense soil on Earth. The Sumerians had surplus food, which meant not everyone had to farm, which meant some people could specialize. Civilization runs on surplus. Surplus runs on water. Egypt's entire agricultural calendar was organized around the Nile's flood cycle. No flood, no harvest. No harvest, no pharaoh. In China, the Yellow River earned the name China's Sorrow over centuries of catastrophic floods. And yet, the civilization that rose along its banks became one of the most enduring in human history. The ruler who could tame the river had legitimacy. The one who couldn't, didn't. Rome was served by 11 major aqueducts, carrying water across roughly 500 kilometers, moving an estimated 1 billion liters per day into a city of 1 million people. Nearly 1,000 liters per person daily. Modern cities typically supply between 150 and 300. The entire system ran on gravity alone. Some sections dropped less than half a meter per kilometer, maintained across hundreds of kilometers using basic instruments. When the aqueducts were cut during the Gothic sieges of the 5th and 6th centuries, Rome's population collapsed. Not because of the fighting, because the water stopped. That's not a metaphor, that's the mechanism. Almost every major religion places water at the center of something sacred. Baptism, ritual washing before prayer. The Ganges as a living goddess. This is not coincidence. When survival depends on something you cannot control, you don't just need it, you revere it. The Ganges today receives roughly 3 billion liters of untreated sewage per day. Pilgrims still bathe in it by the millions. Cleaning it has become one of the most politically complicated environmental projects in Indian history. Because the river isn't just a river. It never was. By the mid-1800s, London had 2.5 million people and essentially no sewage infrastructure. Waste drained into the Thames, which was also the primary drinking source. Cholera killed tens of thousands. Then came the summer of 1858. A heat wave hit. The Thames began to putrefy, and the smell forced Parliament to hang curtains soaked in lime chloride just to function. It became known as the Great Stink. What it accomplished was political will. Parliament fast-tracked a new underground sewage system designed by Joseph Bazalgette. Cholera deaths dropped dramatically within years. That lesson, about whose water has to become undrinkable before anyone acts, has not aged particularly well. The Hoover Dam, completed in 1936, turned the wild Colorado River into a managed system and made Las Vegas possible. An entire major city, in the middle of a desert, exists because engineers rerouted a river. But the Colorado now frequently runs dry before it reaches the ocean. The water has been claimed. All of it. And then some. Here's where history stops being history and starts being news. Ethiopia began construction on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the Blue Nile in 2011, the largest hydroelectric dam in Africa. From Ethiopia's perspective, this is development and sovereignty. Egypt's perspective is different. Around 90% of Egypt's freshwater comes from the Nile. Without it, Egypt doesn't grow food, doesn't sustain 100 million people, doesn't function. Egypt has held a dominant claim since a 1959 treaty. Ethiopia was never a party to it and has never accepted it as binding. As the reservoir fills, downstream flow decreases for years, potentially decades. Egypt has called this an existential threat. There have been military posturing, broken negotiations, and statements that have come close to threatening force. This is not a hypothetical. It is an active, unresolved dispute with no legal framework and no agreed solution. The Indus Waters Treaty between India and Pakistan has come under growing strain. It has survived wars. Whether it survives the current tension and climate-driven scarcity is genuinely uncertain. By 2050, roughly 5 billion people could be living in areas of significant water stress: South Asia, the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, parts of Southern Europe, and the American West. These are not remote areas.
These are where most of the world's population growth is projected to occur. Every civilization in this story made the same calculation. Control the water, and you control everything that follows. The Sumerians did it. The Romans perfected it. The British destroyed their river and rebuilt when the cost became unbearable. The Americans conjured a city out of a desert. The calculation hasn't changed. What's changed is the scale and the scarcity. The history of water is the history of every war fought for it, every empire built on it, every disease spread through it, every religion centered around it. The oldest story in human civilization. And it's not finished. Worth saying, projections about water stress involve real uncertainty. The numbers reflect widely reported estimates, not guarantees. The situation is serious regardless of where the figures land. If this one made you think, subscribe. Object Origins goes deep on the hidden histories behind the things that shaped the world. A like helps this reach more people, and I genuinely appreciate it.